Hello and welcome to JTV YouTube Live Short. I'm your host, Janette Burke. Today I am joined by Pamela Wallin. You might remember her. She was a veteran Canadian journalist and broadcaster. She is also a Canadian senator. And it's a pleasure to have you here, Pamela, and to talk about your new book. We know that you're also an author of other books, but your new book is all about cats and how cats uh, affect us mentally, our well-being, and what have you. So welcome, and we're just going to jump right in.
Wonderful, wonderful to be here. Nice to see you.
You too. So what prompted you to write a book about cats, and how have cats, including your own Siamese kitty, been part of your life? How have they affected your life in your career and in your political career, so on and so forth?
Well, it was a bit of an accident at first. I was talking to a friend who just said, just write a book. You talk about her all the time, my kitty, whose name is Kitty, although she had another one originally. But it just we called her Kedi, Kedi, which was an old Egyptian word. But then every time we said that, people said, "What? Kitty?" So we just went with Kitty in the end. So she's in my life for 19 years, and the book is about how it changed my life and how I think it might change others. I had grown up as a dog person, or at least I thought I was a dog person. The only cats I was really aware of were, on the farm, in the barn, doing what cats do. And I had no idea of the intense, intricate relationship that they create. So it was quite accidental. We were kitty sitting for a friend, and she had a chocolate point Siamese cat. Then she came home from her extended trip. I didn't want to give the cat back. I'd fallen totally in love with this cat. And of course you have to give the cat back. So then I went on my search for my kitty. And it was a difficult process, and a breeder said she had 2 females, and we raced out there, and she said, I sold one, and I said, where's the other? And she pointed to this runt of the litter, this little tiny thing sitting in the corner looking hopeless and helpless, and picked her up, took her home. And not only did she rest on my heart, because they love the feel of a heartbeat, but she just kind of insinuated herself into it, and there she stays to this very day.
So what do you want people to know about cats? You alluded to 2 things that I'm going to pick up on. One was that you yourself were not initially a cat person, you were more of a dog person. And there's always this misconception that cats are not as affectionate or friendly as a dog, which, dog is always labeled man's best friend.
Right.
How do you feel that the cat, has come to comfort you and bring you joy in your life, and what do you want others to understand about cats?
Well, it's a very different kind of relationship, because as we say about dogs, it's kind of unconditional love, right? They'll just, if you look after the basics of life and show them affection, they will give themselves to you in a whole way. Cats negotiate. Cats really kind of set up ground rules for how this relationship is going to work. You never ever use the word own. I own a cat, because you don't. You kind of cohabit and coexist in their life. But once you gain that, you build that, you start that relationship, and they start to decide what the terms will be. And you too, you just discover that they're so complicated and so interesting. They do withhold affection if they're mad, but then they reward you with lots of it later if you seem properly, punished for leaving them alone all day, or whatever sin you might have committed. But someone said, and I love the phrase, which is, pets are deep wells into which we pour our emotions. And then what you get
Yes.
back from them is that reflection, that understanding. You have to commit as much as you want them to commit. And there was another wonderful phrase, and it was about human beings. It was about what a marriage is about, what a relationship is about, and that you kind of appoint each other, and I mentioned this in the book, you appoint each other the guardians of your own solitude, that ability to be alone together, to respect each other's space. And that's a little bit more what the relationship with the cat is like, as opposed to the dog, which is, it's about keeping your own space and agreeing at which points you will come together. So it's complicated, but worth every single minute.
Now, cats have had a profound impact on society from way back,
Mm.
the Egyptians, the Japanese, what have you, and they played as an integral part in art, history, and culture, among other things.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that cats have this special honor and role, and how can we learn from this and adapt it?
Well, I mean, the cat has been around for some 12 million years, and they were, as you
Mm,
mentioned, a source of respect and honor in the Egyptian society. Their goddesses often had female bodies and cat heads, that kind of thing.
mhm.
Everybody, the ancient mariners, the people on ships, they've had all these different roles in terms of dealing with the problems of urban living. Yes, they were mousers. Yes, they did all of that. Yes, their behavior indicated to a sailor that might be getting into a boat what the weather was like and the water was like ahead. So they've had a very useful function in that they've gone from just the service work that they also do, keeping the barns clean or the basement, whatever it may be, but also this profound respect. The whole story of cats having 9 lives is very, uh, it's a very important thing. This is the Trinity of Trinities. There's lots of folklore and culture built around this. But they're also just incredible creatures. They're just beautiful to look at. They're I think it was George Will that said they're like a graceful vase, and another writer who said there's no need for a piece of sculpture in a home if you have a cat, because they pose and they sit. They're such graceful creatures. It's amazing to have them around, because you might just be sitting reading or watching television. You'll notice out of the side of your eye that the cat has found some incredible position to be in, and you just look and you smile and you go, ah, that's so wonderful. But it's also a very personal relationship. And I know in my own life, I went through, divorce and cancer and being fired from jobs and all of
Huh?
the things that happen in the real world. And and she became that confidant as well, things that I could say out loud to her that I knew would go no further. And I think that was important too. Now, there's lots of science around the fact that cats can not only heal their own bones, but they can help heal the human as well. So I think there's that side of it, but it's really the intensity of the emotional bond, I think, that teaches you things and lets you heal and gives you time to sit and be with them, because God knows you don't want to disturb a cat if it has become comfortable sitting on your chest or behind your knees. And so it kind of makes you deal with, just slowing things down a little bit.
And do you find that women uh, find themselves more aligned with cats and what cats can do for them, and how they can benefit their lives more so than men?
I I think that's true. I don't know whether it is because I know lots of cat people that are men too. Um, and I know lots of women that are crazy in love with their dogs. So, I think we're kind of ambidextrous on that. But I do think that we tend, whatever the creature, I think we tend to have more of an emotional bond with our pets than we do a camaraderie. You see guys out.
I guess also I was yeah, I hear you, but I guess what I was trying to also allude to is the fact that uh, women sometimes model themselves after cats. I mean, they want to look like cats, they want to move like cats, they want to dress all sleek and beautiful like a cat. They want
Well,
to
I
have
don't
their
know.
eye makeup on like a cat.
Yeah, there is the whole cat eye thing. That's true, and that does date back to the
Eh,
Egyptians. I'm not one of those people that relates to the cat on that level. It wasn't about my dress or my style or to walk with the same grace or flow of the cat. It was really more of an emotional connection that I had, and I do think women want that with their pets, with their cats in particular, because it is that moment of privacy where you can share things and say things that you might not to somebody else.
And in today's world where there's, a lot going on politically,
Yeah.
financially, the connection to a pet is, I think, very important, has become even more so important than maybe previously. Could you comment on that about the emotional bond and how it differs from human bond,
Well, I
the
think
bond of a pet, particularly the cat?
I think we saw a lot of it during the pandemic, where people in
Yes,
record numbers went out and cleaned out the animal shelters everywhere, which is a good thing, because they had a sense of being isolated, but they also had time to deal with the pet, to bond with the pet, to make sure that you were learning what you should do. Sometimes you don't have time in your busy life to figure out what that relationship is. And then we saw the flip side is that when the pandemic started to fade, people went, oh, well, I just don't have time for this anymore. And I think there was a lot of pushback on individuals saying, if you've committed to this, then you need to do this. This is not a purse. This is, you can't just get a new one and
exactly.
change it for the season. And so, I think that opened it up, but it is an important um, relationship that I think helps the other relationships in your life. If you have kids and you want to teach them about responsibility, then having a pet means certain things. They need to be fed and watered and groomed and cared for and petted. It's not just a passing fancy that I saw a dog on a TV show and now I want one, or that cat was so pretty, now I want one. And so it's a way to actually bond with your kids and teach your kids. You could read things out of this book to kids because they'd be fascinated by all the physical things about cats, right? They're like their ears have 32 muscles and they can turn them in independently 180 degrees. Like they're amazing little creatures. So there's that kind of relationship and benefit to having an animal in your life. And again, I think you sometimes just need comfort, the comfort that comes from sitting there stroking a cat when you're sad, when you're missing somebody, when you've been hurt.
Yes.
There's a comfort to that
Hmm.
that comes back to you. So they play so many different
Yeah, I think
roles
that
in
that's
our
a
life.
big proponent in the world today. That connection is a big proponent because, mental illness, what have you.
Right.
It's on the rise, and sometimes people just need to have
Yeah.
that extra comfort in their life and just feel that, that connection.
Well, I think that's it because once
Sometimes the animal is, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just I think
Go
that
ahead.
bond is there. I think that it's really important for somebody, and it doesn't have to be as serious as mental illness. It might just be loneliness or hurt. But I do think it has that
Mhm.
impact all the way up and down the chain of your psychological state. And some people are much more affected by the events of the world and the craziness that they see on television or the hate they might be hearing. And this is a moment to just have a calm relationship with somebody that you know is not going to turn on you or say something mean to you or um, walk away in a huff in a conversation because there's been a communication blip or even online, right? I mean, we can send all the emojis and messages we want, but sometimes that gets misinterpreted. If you're sitting with this creature on your lap and connecting with them and petting them and looking at them and they're snuggling and cuddling, there's nothing that feels better. We all have that sense of wanting to be needed and wanting to be missed if we don't come home or don't show
Mhm.
up. And for sure, you're going to get that from your cat.
With the cat. So we're nearing the end of the interview. I want to give you a chance now to say or add anything that we didn't touch upon that you would like to say, and also to tell us where we can go to order the book.
Well, I think you can get the book anywhere, Amazon and all of those things, and bookstores here, published by Rebooks. And of course, I've got some information on my own website and whatnot. But I just think
Which
that
is PamelaWallin.com, and we will add that in the show notes as well, the link.
PamelaWallin.com. Yeah,
Link.com.
PamelaWallin.com. Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
I think the message that I would like people to glean from this book and just by taking the time to read it, I think it'll just people will find it calming. And I think we increasingly need um, those kinds of forces in our life. I don't know about you, but I work 24/7. I'm
Mhm.
a bit of a workaholic. And
Yes, I work that way too.
and I just find that having an animal is a real balancing issue. I don't mean life work balance and running off to yoga class, and trying to fit more things in, because that's a lot of times what life
Mhm.
work balance looks like to me. But I just think these are relationships that can matter, that can bring you comfort, that can bring you peace, that can amuse you, give you endless hours of enjoyment, and turn away from the phone from time to time or shut off the television and just live in the moment with these animals that are so prepared to give so much if you do, right? If you are willing to. So take the time and think about it. As I've said, it's a commitment. You can't do this lightly, but the comfort that they offer, the insight into yourself that they give and allow you, because they kind of make you take the time to be a little bit more reflective. Now, I'm a bit biased on this because every different cat has a different personality. But I would just say, if you possibly can, try and figure out what their character is, because it runs deeper than personality. Some are fun, some are more, playful, all of that. But you want a creature with character. They all have it. You just have to discover it. And that means giving part of you to them so that you can get something in return.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing this great information on your new book. Again, all the links will be in the show notes so everyone can find out and they can go and order. I want to thank my audience for joining. This is Janette Burke signing off for JTV YouTube Live Short. We hope you'll join us again next time. And please remember to share and comment on all our posts. Thanks again for joining us, and bye for now.